Hello, some time ago I already reviewed unique Melody MEST model that received a lot of attention, a lot of positive feedback, a lot of praise, and actually it was worth all that hype and all that positive emotions because it's a really good model with a great sound. But recently Unique Melody decided to squash that minor issues or minor problems that users have with the first version of MEST, and they released MEST Mark II model with improvements both in sound and in design and even a bit in packaging. So let's try to find out what they improved and what we'll get with the new version. And price is $1,500. It's $100 more. It's for universal version. Customs are a bit more expensive, so it's $100 more than MEST Mark I cost at the start of sales. Currently Mark I is on sale in some shops, so difference is a bit bigger, but still it's a pretty it's not the most expensive model ever. Of course it's expensive, but considering that there are a lot of models with price above $3,000, and even Unique Melody announced their Mason limited version for the $6,000, we can consider $1,500 as a kind of budget high-end or more affordable high-end. I understand that it sounds like some kind of oxymoron, but still it's the current situation on the market. Anyway, let's go back to the earphones. It's quad-brids or hybrids with 4 types of drivers. Here use dynamic driver, balanced armatures, electrostatic drivers and bone conduction drivers. If I remember right, 8 different receivers per each ear. Anyway, let's have a closer look. So they upgraded box a little bit. It looks a bit more fancy and it opens now with a flip. Inside you will get the case with earphones and a drawer with accessories. So in the accessory set you will get the USB flash designed like business card. I actually have no idea what's on this flash. I need to watch it someday. You'll get a set of Sedna Xelastic ear tips. You'll get the cleaning pouch, set of tips, pair of foams, actually 3 pair of foams, and also set of regular black silicone tips, and actually it's magnet for cable organization probably. So what's here? Let's see, something fancy and attractive. Yeah, so it's magnet clip for the cable winding with additional carbine. So nice good set of accessories, and addition of Sedna ear tips will be a good bonus for many. Case we've seen before sometimes. It's made of leather, looks attractive. So inside there are spacers to separate earpieces from each other, and you can adjust it. As a bonus item is a stripe of Velcro. You can see that there is even a protector for the jack. And here are earpieces themselves. In terms of design, they remind the first version, but here used the similar carbon-like texture with some kind of glittery pieces inside, but now it's black, not the familiar blue or red versions, and they are smaller, so fit will improve. If you had issues with first version of MEST, I didn't have any problems actually, but some people complain about the fit issues. So if first version was too big for you, now they are smaller, but despite the smaller size, they are a bit on the heavier side, probably because they have to fit the 8 drivers in each shell. They have a bit wider bore and a different angle, so despite being a bit shorter, despite having a bit shorter bore, sound isolation is still pretty good, because earpiece itself isolates pretty well. There is a lip for holding the tips and of course a protective grill to avoid small derbies getting inside of earpieces. Fit is pretty good, at least for me. Wearing comfort is also high. And looking at these tiny shells, it's really surprising how they managed to put all that horde of drivers in each ear. On the left piece there is unique Melody logo, on the right the caption MEST. And here is the model version and probably serial number. Cables are made replaceable. Here used regular 2-pin connector. They decided not to make recessed pins or recessed sockets, QDC connector, just absolutely classical 2-pin connectors, pretty tightly fitting and holding cable really well. Stock cable is also a bit better. It's average in terms of softness, not actually the super soft one, but neither it's super sturdy. There are ear hooks to hold the cable around your ears. No memory wire itself, but it does its job pretty well. Cable has low microphonic effect, so no issues with that. Here is the splitter with chin slider, and after the splitter it goes braided down to the jack. And as usual you can get a few versions. I've got mine with Pentacon connector. So in terms of package, accessories, set, design and all other stuff, everything is done on the maximum level. I don't know why, but some people are asking about such minor and non-important stuff like sound. Okay, jokes aside, I gave them about 60 hours of burn-in. There were no big changes in sound in general. Maybe during first dozen of hours, not more, and changes were minor. So if you'll decide to get them, you can start enjoying them. While you will try different tips, you'll already get them burned in. And of course it's important to experiment with different tips to find the proper fit and seal. And actually, you know, I didn't get the best fit with that X-elastic tips, so just regular black silicons were better for me. Let's have a player on the table and let's proceed to the sound description. So, in general, you know, Unique Melody preserves the main important thing about the MEST. They are still crazy technical, they are resolving, they are well balanced, they have good timbral balance, they have great resolution, they are airy, spacious, so on and so forth. They are staying on the less colored side of things, but at the same time they're not going into dry and monitoring representation, so really good sound for those who like non-colored signature. But let's talk about all that step by step. So bass is pretty linear, it has slight accent, but it's not big, and that accent is mainly done in terms of weight, not in terms of quantity. And at the same time it's really resolving, and you won't get that type of low frequencies that usually described by words. Okay, it's a dynamic driver, what you want from the dynamic driver. It's not balanced armature, so bass here is close to balanced armatures in terms of resolution and in terms of detalization, but at the same time it's still remaining the dynamic driver punch and amount of weight and amount of air transferred, giving nice weight for the notes. But at the same time it's definitely not the model for those who like really accented low frequencies who need big fat bass if it's not present. These earphones playing that amount of low frequencies that is present in the record. If it's some acoustic and instrument or bass guitar or something like that, you will get a great amount of details, you will get that small overtones. If it's electronic music with deep bass, you will get deep rumbling low frequencies, but at the same time they won't try to crush your skull with low frequencies, not will make your eyeballs rattle or something like that. So it's a well balanced amount of low frequencies. And depth is close to the maximum, and deeper layers of bass are present, audible, and giving that additional sense of realism to the sound. Basically, low frequencies are really good, so I can say just that. So, you know, bass good, bass great, mids great, treble is even better, so that's it. Anyway, let's see some examples. First one, it's Hugh Laurie's Wild Honey. Here we get nice acoustic bass with interesting part and maybe not perfect, but at least good quality of record, giving that sense of realism. And thanks to the performance of these in-ear monitors, you'll get the realistic sound of real instrument. And example of electronic music, Juno Reactor, Tempest. I needed to show to demonstrate that fact that low frequencies here are pretty universal. I often use Tempest as a deep bass test track because in the beginning there are some really low frequencies sounds going from left channel to right and vice versa. Probably this track should sound super impressive with subwoofer, but with earphones that have a good performance of deep bass, it's also sounds pretty nice. Mid frequencies is probably the main difference comparing with the original MEST, but about the comparisons let's speak later, and let's talk about the MEST Mark II as is. Mids are really good balanced here. I'm a fan of nice weight on the mid frequencies, and these earphones deliver that really good. Almost perfect note weight and good weight for the voices, giving male vocals really great sense of realism. You know, all that male singers with velvet vocal, with deep voices saturated with emotions that surrounds you, so this model will deliver it nicely and render it greatly. At the same time, you will get really good resolution, so it's the fact, and you know, thanks to additional weight, adding a bit weight with compared with Mark I here, they are less critical for the quality of records. They are not as nitpicking as first revision. They still require some superbly recorded material, but they won't highlight the issues with mastering and with recording. You'll just need good material to show the full potential of this model, and in this case it will give you all superb natural instruments with good layering and separation and all stuff. In terms of staging, they are close to the first version, really spacious, one of the biggest stages ever and one of the deepest, but at the same time they build stage a bit in a bit different way. Okay, I failed in postponing the comparison, so I will say a few words comparing with Mark I. So, size of the stage is pretty the same, but here instruments will have a bit bigger size themselves with a bit less air between the instruments, and that gives a bit more natural stage and 3D effect for me. So, stage the same but built a bit more realistically, and also they have a bit better depth layering, a tiny bit, so improvement is really minor here, but I did blind A/B test, so I'm pretty sure that it's audible. And as a first example for the mid frequencies, actually probably an anti-audiophilic record, but still really energetic and really good album that I like. It's PJ Harvey and the wheel. Sound here is a bit dirty, so you need technical earphones in order not to make the sound even more dirty. And this model just delivers it as is, so you will get all the dirt that is present in the record, but no more. Also, there is nice clapping effect that this model will deliver, and of course vocal as a main part with all emotions is rendered also nicely. And another track, it's Fatal Tragedy by Dream Theater from their famous Metropolis Part 2. Many people consider this as the greatest album by Dream Theater, and maybe they are right, but anyway. So, distorted guitars, fast changes in tempo and in time signature, vocal, drums, guitars, keyboards, a lot of stuff is going on in this track, and it requires technical mids with good performance, and this earphones delivers it nicely and all the parts of this track. Treble probably changes in treble got the least changes comparing with first version. I'd say that it's pretty close in terms of overall sound, but at the same time there is a slight difference because of mid frequencies. You know, it's impossible to change one part of sound without altering the overall representation. So mids here became a bit more weighty and they became a bit more forward sounding, and that made treble a bit less accented, making them more balanced, and at the same time they have the same amount of treble, but they sound more balanced with overall signature. So treble extension is really good, maybe not the greatest, but really good. And at the same time they have almost realistic attacks and decays with great layering and overtone saturation, so all that tiny decays and all that stuff that is typical for the good treble they will deliver. And as a first example, it's Cassandra Wilson, Another Country. It's from some test CD, and that's the typical tracks that hits on the test CDs. Great female vocal, good instruments, superb percussion, so all that stuff is perfectly recorded and requires great treble performance that this model delivers. And Jesus Christ Superstar, Everything's Alright. Yet another track with great female vocal, good percussion, nice instrumentals, and just two tracks, maybe not similar, but you know, having some basic, having the same reasons of getting into this collection of tracks for this review, just showing that this model delivers a great treble. In terms of pairing, they are actually, you know, not super critical. You can use them even with mid-tier players, but of course something of at least entry higher segment will be a good addition for them. They will unveil their full potential and they can scale up to basically infinity, or at least up to that quality of sound that portable sources can show. And speaking about the compressions, so first one and most obvious here probably, it's Mark I. You can see that Mark I has a bit bigger shells, bit thicker, and they have different spouts. So spout here is bit bigger and more extended, it goes deeper into ear. But anyway, in terms of sound, here you will get a bit more textured low frequencies, more forward and weighty and natural mids, and about the same treble performance, but here treble sounds a bit brighter because of bit recessed mids. At the same time, this model can sound a bit more airy for some people because the instruments are rendered smaller here with more space between them. Campfire audio models like Solaris. Solaris is more fun with bigger bass, with a bit more focus on the micro detalization and a bit less weighty mids and a bit more treble. Actually, Andromeda is also differs in the similar way, but Andromeda has a bit less bass, of course, and it's a bit more focused on the micro detalization. Mids are pretty close. Actually, you know, they have similar mid balance. Andromeda 2020 version probably a bit more weighty. This regular version is a bit less weighty. So this one is like mix between 2020 and original. And on the treble, Andromeda is also a bit more splashy and sparky. And also what models in the top of the line segment I have Noble Audio, what is the name of it? Kaiser and Core, of course. Kaiser and Core is a bit more fun, bit more highlighting emotions, boosting them, so different representation compared to Unique Melody that is trying to be more technical and less colored. And not much sense in comparing it with more expensive models, like I have Mason 3rd version, for example, I have Han, but they are more expensive and they are different beast, and so don't think that there is much sense in comparing. Anyway, the main question here probably is, should you, if you own Mark I, should you sell it and buy Mark II? You know, probably no. If you like Mark I and if you're okay with fit, you won't get a huge boost, but if you're liking weight of for mids here, it could be a good option. Or if you're buying a new model, I think it makes sense to spend a bit more and get MEST Mark II. So to summarize, Unique Melody just extended the lifetime of their model, and MEST was pretty popular, and Mark II will allow it to keep this popularity even further. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.